I wanted to discuss with you how to use your calculator for finding correlation coefficient as well as your regression line. On your calculator, you will notice you have this stat and the exit stat. These are your two modes. You will also see a data and a stat variation key. So what you need to do first is you need to enter your stat mode. So you will need to hit the the second key, and then you will hit the data key. When working with correlation coefficients, we are going to be using the two variables because we have an x and a y. So you will scroll over to the two variable. Now, if you have entered any data beforehand, you may want to scroll over and clear data. If you clear data, you will just hit enter, and then it will take you back to the one variable, two variable stat. And so I will go to the two variable stat and hit enter. You'll notice down here you are in stat mode. To enter your data, you will hit data, and you will enter your data with your x's and your y's. Make sure that your x1 is paired with your y1. So these are like your ordered pairs as you would put them on your scatter plot. So I'm just hitting the down arrow. So, and I am not doing any particular example. I am just making these up to give you one to look at. Okay. Once I have entered my last y value, all I do is hit enter just to make sure that it is actually entered in there. And then what I'm going to do, because all of my data is now entered, I'm going to hit this stat variation key. And it's going to do the calculations for me. You'll notice that my n is 5. That means I entered 5 data values for x and y. I had 5 ordered pairs. The x bar will be the mean of my x values. The s of x will be the sample standard deviation of my x values. The sigma sub x is the population mean for my x values. We don't use it very much because we very rarely ever have an actual population. The y bar is the mean of my y values. S sub y is the mean sample standard deviation of my y values. Sigma y is the population standard deviation of my y values. The sum of the x's we don't really use. This screen we don't really use. Here is where we do use. You'll notice over here we have an R. This R is your correlation coefficient. Okay? So if it asks for your correlation coefficient, this is that value without calculating that big long table. The A and the B here, the A is your B0. No, I apologize. The A is your B1. It is your slope of your regression line. So this is the number that it would be attached to your x value. It is your slope. Your B is your B0, your y-intercept. So this would be your starting point. So this would be like ax squared plus b for your regression line. Okay? So you could read it as y hat is equal to ax squared plus b, and then you have your regression line, or your correlation coefficient. Remember that your a and your r must be the same sign. Your b could be a different sign. When you are finished, I would highly recommend hitting second stat variation so that you can exit stat mode. And the reason why I recommend you exit stat mode is because some of us like to move up and down when we have made calculations, just so that we don't have to re-enter items. And if you're in stat variation or in the stat mode, you cannot go to the previous line. So that is why I would highly recommend you exiting the stat mode and getting rid of that stat here. If you stay in stat mode, you can still do the calculations. It just means that you will not be able to move to the previous line. Okay? If you have questions about the calculator, let me know. If you have a different calculator than this one, a different scientific calculator than this one, please let me know. I may have one that I can show you how to do the same thing. But otherwise, just let me know if you have any questions.